Discipline is not just a matter of action, it's a matter of identity. Most people try to change their behavior without ever changing how they see themselves. They force themselves to wake up earlier, to go to the gym, to stick to their plans, but they're still holding on to the identity of someone who procrastinates, who gives up easily, who lacks consistency. That internal image becomes the glass ceiling. You might push against it with willpower, but eventually you hit a wall and slide right back into old habits. The truth is, every lasting behavioral change begins with a shift in identity. You don't get disciplined by doing disciplined things once in a while. You become disciplined by deciding that it's asterisk who you are. Asterisk, this isn't about lying to yourself. It's about planting a seed and nourishing it until it becomes your new reality. When you declare to yourself, I am a focused, committed person, you begin aligning your behavior with that belief, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Think about it like this. If someone sees themselves as a smoker trying to quit, they're still identifying as a smoker. It's only a matter of time before they return to that behavior. But if someone says, I'm not a smoker, they're identifying as a non-smoker. That's a powerful distinction. They're no longer resisting temptation. They're simply acting in alignment with who they believe they are. That's the foundation of sustainable discipline, identity that drives behavior. This principle applies to every area of your life. If you want to become financially disciplined, you must see yourself as someone who respects money, who makes wise decisions, who delays gratification to build something greater. If you want to be disciplined in your health, start by seeing yourself as an athlete, a high performer, someone who treats their body like a temple. The identity comes first, the results follow. But how do you begin to shift your identity? It starts with language. The words you use with yourself are powerful tools of transformation. If you constantly say, I'm just not a morning person, or I've always struggled with focus, you're reinforcing the identity that's holding you back. Instead, start speaking the language of the person you want to become. I am someone who follows through. I handle discomfort with strength. I'm becoming more focused every day. These phrases are not affirmations. They are commands to your subconscious mind. The second step is to gather evidence. Even small wins can reinforce a new identity. Did you wake up when you said you would? Did you resist the urge to scroll and instead get your task done? Acknowledge that. Say to yourself, that's who I am. Stack enough of those moments, and your brain starts to believe you. Over time, this builds an internal confidence, a sense that your word means something. That trust in yourself is the foundation of discipline. It's also important to surround yourself with cues and people that reinforce your desired identity. If you hang out with people who constantly make excuses, you'll start to see yourself the same way. But if you're in an environment where discipline, focus, and high standards are normal, your identity will rise to match. Your surroundings reflect and reinforce your self-image. Clean up your workspace, organize your schedule, and keep reminders of who you're becoming where you can see them every day. Another powerful tool is visualization. Spend a few minutes daily seeing yourself acting as the disciplined version of you. Imagine how that version of you walks, talks, works, trains, and rests. The more vividly you rehearse those behaviors in your mind, the more natural they become in reality. The brain doesn't distinguish much between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. So when you rehearse discipline in your mind, you're programming your identity to accept that version of you as real. Now, none of this is magic. It takes intention, repetition, and emotional involvement. But it works because it addresses the root identity rather than just the branches, behavior. When your identity shifts, everything else becomes easier. You no longer have to force yourself to do the right thing. You're just doing what someone like you would naturally do. And here's the most empowering part. Identity is a choice. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need proof before you decide who you are. You can choose today to be the kind of person who honors their commitments, who rises early, who stays calm under pressure, who finishes what they start. The moment you make that choice and start reinforcing it with your thoughts, words, and actions, you begin building the foundation for unshakable discipline. Clarity is the foundation of all disciplined action. Without a clear vision, the mind becomes scattered, distracted, and reactive. People often struggle with discipline not because they lack motivation, but because they lack direction. They don't know exactly what they want, why they want it, or how they'll get there. As a result, their energy is unfocused, and their actions are inconsistent. Discipline thrives in an environment where the target is visible, specific, and emotionally compelling. Imagine trying to hit a target blindfolded. You could fire all the arrows you want, but without seeing where you're aiming, success becomes a matter of chance. That's how most people live. They're busy, but not effective. They're moving, but not progressing. True discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most consistently. And to do that, you must first define what matters most. Clarity brings structure to your effort. It tells you where to place your energy, what to say no to, and what to commit to with full intensity. When your goals are vague like, I want to get in shape, or I want to be successful, there's no urgency or precision. The brain doesn't respond well to ambiguity. But when you say, I will lose 10 pounds in 8 weeks by working out 5 days a week and tracking my meals daily, suddenly the path becomes visible, the fog clears, and discipline has a track to run on. There's a neurological basis for this too. The brain is a goal-seeking mechanism. Once you give it a specific outcome, it begins to filter reality through that lens. Opportunities become more noticeable. Ideas come more easily. Focus sharpens. This is not about wishful thinking. It's about programming your mind with precision. When clarity is present, distractions lose their power. You no longer waste time on tasks that don't align with your mission because your mind is trained to recognize what moves the needle and what doesn't. Clarity also simplifies decision making. Every day, we are faced with hundreds of small choices. Without a clear goal, those choices are overwhelming and often lead to decision fatigue. But when your target is defined, decisions become easier. You ask yourself, does this action take me closer to or further from my goal? If the answer is no, you let it go. That level of decisiveness fuels discipline. You're not relying on willpower alone. You're using vision as a guide. Another benefit of clarity is emotional alignment. When your vision is clear, you begin to connect with the deeper reasons behind your actions. You're no longer just chasing a number, a title, or a deadline. You're pursuing something meaningful. That emotional connection is what makes discipline sustainable. It's not enough to know what you want. You have to understand why it matters. When your why is strong, excuses start to dissolve. To build clarity, you must ask yourself better questions. Not just, what do I want? But also, why must I have it? Who do I become by achieving it? And what am I willing to commit to? These questions pull you into a state of intentionality. They make your goal feel real, urgent, and personal. And from that place, discipline becomes a natural extension of your desire, not just a forced behavior. It's also essential to write your goals down. The act of writing creates commitment. It turns thoughts into something tangible. When you write out your vision in specific, measurable, time-bound terms, you're declaring your direction to yourself and to the world. That clarity acts like a compass. When you're tired, distracted, or tempted to quit, you can come back to that written vision and remember why you started. Clarity is not a one-time event. It's a daily discipline in itself. Life changes, priorities shift, and distractions creep in. That's why reviewing your goals regularly is critical. Take 5 minutes each morning to reconnect with your vision. Remind yourself of what matters. Visualize the outcome you're working toward. This daily focus realigns your thoughts, sharpens your intentions, and reawakens your drive. People who lack discipline often think they have a motivation problem. What they really have is a clarity problem. When you know exactly what you want and why it matters, your mind becomes a powerful engine, capable of directing incredible energy toward a single goal. That's when discipline stops being a struggle and starts becoming a way of life. Because when the destination is clear, the journey becomes purposeful, and with purpose, consistency is no longer optional. It becomes who you are. Discipline is often mistaken for something cold, mechanical, or purely logical. But if you've ever truly committed to a difficult goal, whether in health, business, relationships, or personal growth, you know that logic alone isn't enough. What really drives consistent, long-term action isn't the knowledge of what to do, but the emotional power behind why you must do it. Emotions are the fuel of human behavior. They are the driving force that either keeps you stuck in old patterns or propels you into disciplined, focused action. Most people try to motivate themselves using reason. They say things like, "I know I should go to the gym," or "I understand the importance of saving money," but understanding doesn't equal doing. If it did, everyone would be in shape, financially stable, and living their best life. What separates those who follow through from those who fall off track is the emotional leverage they create. When something must happen instead of just should happen, your behavior begins to shift rapidly. To build lasting discipline, you must connect your goals to deep emotional reasons. That means asking yourself, why does this matter to me at the deepest level? Not just intellectually, but emotionally. Go beyond the surface. If your goal is to get healthy, don't settle for, "I want to look better." That's not strong enough. Dig deeper. I want to feel confident in my own skin. I want to be there for my kids. I want to prove to myself that I'm capable of change. These emotional drivers are what push you to act when it's hard, when you're tired, when motivation is gone. Emotion gives your goals weight. When your reason is powerful, discipline becomes easier because you're no longer relying on external motivation. You're operating from an internal fire. That fire is different for everyone. For some, it's the desire to break a cycle of mediocrity. For others, it's about becoming a role model, leaving a legacy, or reclaiming control over their life. The more personal and vivid the emotion, the stronger the pull toward action. It's important to remember that emotion isn't just a reactive state. It can be created. You can train yourself to feel powerful emotions on command. Visualization is a tool for this. When you vividly imagine the outcome you're working toward, when you see it, hear it, feel it, you activate emotions in the present. You don't have to wait until the result is achieved to feel the passion, pride, and excitement that comes with it. By experiencing those feelings now, you wire your brain to associate action with pleasure, not pain. At the same time, you can use emotion to create powerful consequences for an action. Think about the cost of not following through. What will it cost you emotionally, financially, physically, or spiritually if you keep falling short? Let yourself feel that pain, not to punish yourself, but to wake yourself up. Pain is a potent motivator when used correctly. If you can associate deep discomfort with staying the same, and deep pleasure with change, your behavior will begin to align with your goals far more naturally. Emotion also plays a crucial role in breaking through resistance. There will always be days when you don't feel like showing up. That's when most people give in. But if your emotional connection is strong, you'll push through anyway. You'll stop negotiating with your excuses. The reason you started will outweigh the reasons to quit. That's not about being superhuman. It's about being emotionally invested. You can strengthen this connection by writing out your why and reviewing it often. Don't just write down your goals. Write down why they matter to you. Make it vivid. Use language that moves you. Read it every day. Speak it out loud if you need to. Remind yourself not just of what you want, but of the emotional rewards that come from achieving it and the emotional cost of letting it go. Also, be aware that emotion can be influenced by physiology. Your posture, breathing, and movement impact how you feel. If you're slouched, breathing shallow, and moving slowly, you'll feel low energy, and discipline will seem harder. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with purpose, you shift your state. From that higher emotional state, action feels more natural. Change your state, and you can change your behavior. Discipline that lasts doesn't come from force, it comes from feeling. When your actions are tied to powerful emotions, discipline becomes less about effort and more about alignment. You're not dragging yourself toward your goals. You're pulled by the force of something meaningful. That emotional pull becomes your greatest weapon against distraction, fatigue, and self-doubt. When logic ends, emotion takes over, and that's where true transformation begins. Discipline isn't something you turn on and off when it's convenient. It's built through the actions you take repeatedly, day after day, even when no one's watching. While big, dramatic efforts might feel satisfying in the moment, they're rarely sustainable. What truly builds discipline is mastering the small, seemingly insignificant actions you perform every day, your rituals. These rituals, done consistently, create the structure and momentum that lead to lasting change. Rituals are not just habits. They're intentional, purposeful actions that train your body and mind for consistency. When you turn an important behavior into a ritual, you remove the need to negotiate with yourself each time. You don't ask, "Should I do this today?" You simply do it because it's part of who you are. Rituals create a rhythm, and rhythm leads to reliability. This is the path through which discipline becomes automatic. The key is to start small. Most people overwhelm themselves by trying to change everything at once. They create massive to-do lists, overhaul their routines, and then wonder why they burn out within a few days. Real discipline starts with small, repeatable actions that stack over time. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier and journaling. Maybe it's setting aside 5 minutes to plan your top priorities for the day. These might seem minor, but they create a foundation of control. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who honors commitments. These rituals act as anchors. They bring stability when life feels chaotic. When your schedule changes or emotions run high, your rituals give you something to hold on to, a pattern that brings clarity and order. Over time, these consistent behaviors become part of your identity. You no longer have to force discipline. It becomes your default mode. It's also important to design rituals that align with your larger goals. Don't adopt rituals just because they sound productive. Choose ones that directly support the outcomes you care about. If your goal is to improve physical health, then a ritual of morning stretching or a 20-minute walk may be more valuable than reading productivity books. If your goal is to grow your business, then a ritual of focused work on your most important task first thing in the morning is essential. Align your rituals with your values, and they will feel meaningful, not just mechanical. One of the greatest benefits of rituals is that they reduce decision fatigue. Every day, you're faced with countless choices. Without structure, your energy gets drained just deciding what to do next. But when your rituals are in place, you eliminate those decisions. You know exactly what comes next, and that mental clarity frees up energy for deeper work. You no longer waste time hesitating or second-guessing yourself. In addition, rituals allow you to build momentum. There's a psychological boost that comes from starting the day with a win, no matter how small. That win creates a ripple effect. When you complete one positive ritual, you're more likely to stay on track with other good choices. This is often referred to as the domino effect. One small action tips the next, and before you know it, you've completed an entire day in alignment with your goals, all because you started with a simple ritual. It's also important to treat your rituals with respect. That means protecting the time for them, even when life gets busy. It means showing up even when you don't feel like it. That act of showing up, especially when it's difficult, is what builds resilience and mental strength. Each time you follow through in those moments, you're sending a message to yourself that your goals are non-negotiable. Creating rituals doesn't mean your life becomes rigid or robotic. In fact, the opposite happens. You gain more freedom because you've already taken care of the essentials. Your mind becomes less cluttered, your days more intentional. Rituals are the quiet, consistent discipline that leads to explosive growth over time. They create the groundwork for everything else you want to accomplish. You don't need to build a perfect routine overnight. Start with one small ritual. Choose one action that supports your highest goal. Commit to doing it every day, no matter what. Over time, add another. Layer by layer, you're building a system, a personal blueprint for discipline. You're wiring your brain for consistency. These rituals become the silent drivers of transformation. The world may not see them, but the results they produce will speak loudly. Discipline, when built on daily rituals, stops being a struggle and starts becoming a lifestyle that supports who you are and where you're going. True discipline is not developed in moments of comfort or convenience. It's forged in difficulty, when things don't go as planned, when you're tired, when distractions are loud, and when excuses seem reasonable. That's the environment where real growth happens. The people who master discipline aren't the ones who only show up when they feel like it. They're the ones who have trained themselves to take action even when their emotions, circumstances, or environment are working against them. Every day presents a choice: act based on feelings or act based on commitment. Feelings are fleeting. They shift with mood, weather, feedback, and fatigue. Commitment, on the other hand, is stable. It's rooted in purpose. When you operate from commitment, discipline becomes a reflection of your values, not your emotions. You're not waiting to feel ready. You move because you've made a decision. You follow through because your standards are higher than your mood. This mindset shift is crucial because discipline will inevitably be tested. It's easy to stay on track when everything is going well, when motivation is high, when results are visible, when the environment is ideal. But life doesn't stay perfect. Plans fall apart. Distractions show up. Emotions fluctuate. The question is, who do you become in those moments? Do you fold and delay, or do you adjust and move forward anyway? Resilience is what turns temporary obstacles into permanent progress. One of the most powerful ways to build this resilience is to stop treating discomfort as a signal to stop. Most people have been conditioned to pull back the moment something feels difficult. They interpret struggle as a sign that something is wrong, but struggle is part of the process. In fact, it's necessary. It means you're stretching beyond your comfort zone when you start to embrace that discomfort, to welcome it as the price of growth. You become mentally tougher. And mental toughness is the engine behind disciplined action. It helps to reframe resistance. Instead of thinking, "This is hard, I want to quit," shift to, "This is hard, so it matters." That subtle change in language turns obstacles into indicators. If it's challenging, it probably means you're on the right path. If it's inconvenient, you're likely building something meaningful. That reframe changes the game. It pulls your focus away from short-term relief and puts it on long-term reward. Another powerful tool for overcoming excuses is building non-negotiables into your day. These are actions you commit to completing no matter what. They're not optional based on how you feel or how busy you are. They're promises you make to yourself, and keeping those promises builds self-respect. The more you follow through on your word, the more confident and disciplined you become. Discipline isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing what matters even when it's hard. It's also important to prepare for the moments when your willpower is weakest. That means designing systems that remove friction and reduce decision fatigue. Set up your environment to support action. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Turn off notifications during focus hours. Write your to-do list the night before. When things are ready and easy to access, the excuses shrink. You make the right choice by default, not just by force. Accountability is another lever that strengthens discipline. When you tell someone your goal, or when you track your progress publicly or privately, you raise the stakes. You no longer have the option to disappear when things get hard. The knowledge that someone else is watching, or even that your own standard is being measured, pushes you to show up. You begin to take ownership not just of your actions, but of your identity. And with ownership comes power. What most people miss is that every time you push through resistance, even in a small way, you're changing the story you tell yourself. You're no longer the person who gives up easily. You're the one who follows through. That shift in identity is subtle at first, but it grows. You start seeing yourself differently, and once your self-image starts to shift, your behavior follows naturally. The biggest breakthroughs in discipline don't come from motivation. They come from choosing to act when motivation is absent. That's where true progress is made. When you train yourself to take action regardless of how you feel, you become unstoppable. The conditions don't have to be perfect. The mood doesn't have to be right. All that matters is that you show up and do the work. Over time, this becomes your superpower. The ability to stay steady when everything else is trying to knock you off course. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you cultivate. It's not reserved for a special few who somehow have more willpower or better circumstances. It's available to anyone who decides to take full ownership of their life and commit to growth. Every choice you make, especially when it's difficult, either strengthens your discipline or weakens it. The direction of your life is shaped in those small, silent decisions. And the good news is, you are in control of those choices. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that success requires grand, overwhelming effort all at once. But the truth is much simpler and far more empowering. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's about doing the right thing even when no one applauds, even when no one sees. It's about keeping your promises to yourself day after day. Those small acts of discipline add up, they compound, they become momentum, and eventually they become identity. If you want to create a disciplined life, don't wait for motivation. Build structure. Create rituals. Design an environment that makes excellence easier and excuses harder. Tie your actions to emotion. Know your why so deeply that even on your hardest days, it pulls you forward. Reframe discomfort as the cost of transformation. And perhaps most importantly, stay connected to your vision with clarity that cuts through chaos. When you know where you're going and why it matters, you'll find the strength to keep moving, even when the path isn't easy. Understand that discipline isn't about perfection. It's about progress. You will slip. You will fall short. That's part of being human. What matters most is how quickly you reset, recommit, and refocus. The strongest people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to stay down. They use setbacks as fuel. They learn, they adapt, and they keep showing up. You don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. You don't need more time. You need more intention, and you don't need more information. You need more action. Start small. Start where you are, but start. Make today the day you stop waiting and start building. Because the life you want, the person you aim to become, the goals you dream about, they don't come from wishing. They come from discipline, quiet, steady, relentless discipline. In the end, discipline is freedom, the freedom to create, to grow, to lead, to become. It frees you from regret, from mediocrity, from being controlled by fleeting moods or temporary setbacks. It's not a punishment, it's a path, one that leads you to your highest potential. Walk that path with intention, and everything changes. Your habits change, your mindset shifts, your results improve, and slowly but surely, so does your entire life.